Voila. Are you an entrepreneur, a leader transforming your organization, or simply fascinated by the Swiss entrepreneurial culture? The Growth Hacking Culture Swiss Made Edition is your go-to resource for actionable insights and inspiring stories. You can learn from the best as we explore the challenges and opportunities facing Swiss businesses, uncovering the secrets to growth, innovation, transformation, and impact. Today, my guest is a friend of mine. Mr. Alec Corthay, he is a professor in Central Supelec and Mines Paris Tech. For the ones who don't know about them, is the high-end elite universities in France. He is also the founder of several companies in advisory in management. He's also part of he's also founding member of the Swiss Federation of Independent Consultants. And I'm so glad to have you here, Alec, because I think we have a lot to learn from you, especially from your specialty. This is a story that I have heard so many times about your co-pilot method. I want to understand it, and I want to understand what it is the impact of this method in these startups, these people who are trying to have thriving businesses, and then they're facing bloody complexity. I am so glad to have you here, Alec.
Oh, thank you very much, Ivan. It's a pleasure to be with you always. So,
Listen,
I mean, you're the host. You lead me into like, yeah, bring like, okay, you go on.
what is interesting is that you are one of the few ones who are have a Swiss company, so a Swiss-based company, but you spend quite a lot of time in France. So you have this bipolarity to understand also how business is done in different parts of Europe. And I want to discuss a little bit more about that. But to start, I would be interested to know why the hell you started your business.
Oh, that's a great question. And in a way, to be honest, it's been like more than 20 years, but I'm still working on that question because it's like a never-ending thing. It's like to really understand what you are after, or I am after. I believe one reason is I started my career in finance, if you want, and which is good and important. But I realized that I was creative, and I lacked space to express my creativity. So then came a question, how can I use those skills, in finance and so on, and control and so on, but still in a more creative way, which you know that propelled me forward.
You you are right. Something that people very often do not understand. They believe that creativity is something that belongs to the world of marketeers, the guys who have fancy colors of shirts and so on. But at the end, creativity can come from any side, even finance people, man. And if I understand correctly, you have been working in finance for quite a while, in fact, in different consulting, these big firms of consulting. You have been applying somehow your knowledge of numbers to create models when you did your research about uncertainty. You have been mixing a little bit the numbers, your knowledge of number, to find out a more innovative ways of dealing with uncertainty. Is that correct?
um it's an interesting way to put it. Yeah. When I did a PhD, or the equivalent of a PhD, and when you do that kind of research, you start with the big question, and then you develop a method to address the question. My method was what we call quantitative. That means I was using numbers. But in the process, and I won't go into the detail of the study, but in the process, I discovered that the main insight from my study was that well, uncertainty is very important to executives and founders, those who found a business. And I also discovered that we know little about uncertainty. So I started, using, if you want, my skills in finance and auditing and so on, to address the question of how can I reduce the complexity and uncertainty that executives and founders experience. That's basically how I would put it.
Alec, I just have to mention, yesterday I was discussing with a guy, and we were discussing about these two topics, uncertainty and complexity. And I don't know if you agree, I want to validate these assumptions. So the perception of uncertainty might be growing, perception, but not the reality. But complexity, that is the thing that makes this overload, that we look at the future and there is so many sources of information, overload of our brains with this information coming from different ways, from different sources, the need of learning stuff that is happening every single day. There is a new thing about the AI that I have to try sometimes. Sometimes I drop it, but yeah. So do you agree with the fact that complexity, it is growing faster if we compare it versus 10 years ago, but uncertainty, more or less the same, right? Because it's very human.
In a way, yeah. Uncertainty is very human. It's to me, it's the fact of not knowing. And there's nothing more ordinary than uncertainty. I mean, we have unknowns in every situation, and it's been there forever. I think it's a gift, by the way. It's what makes us human. Because otherwise, there's no uncertainty for machines. They just process data. So we're not robots, because there is uncertainty and we have to use our imagination and discernment. But so it's been there forever. Complexity, which is usually defined as the fact that everything is things are connected with one another, and yeah, it seems that the complexity that people experience is growing. And in fact, in a secular language, or in common language, people say, "Oh, my life, it is complicated." And perhaps, yeah, our life and our job as executives and founders is more complicated, in a way, more complicated than ever.
Usually is what I put in my relationship status in Facebook. It is complicated.
It's complicated, yeah. But again, I think this is a gift. It's an opportunity.
How easy is for an entrepreneur in Switzerland to deal with these two things, this uncertainty and this complexity? How do you deal with that? I want to know more about you. How did you deal with that, in fact?
All right. Yeah, it's useful to put the topic in context, right? And my context for the talk today is starting or developing a business, right? And I guess you have to ask. The basic issue is we want to ask the right questions. And the right, and you never outgrow your need for basics. It's like basic questions like, who can be my clients? Who do I serve? And you want to be specific. What are their needs? How, what are their challenges? And then what's the best way to reach them and start a conversation? Because at the end of the day, to me, a business is a conversation between somebody with a need and somebody with a method or a solution. So yeah, and then you can use like LinkedIn and other social media to perhaps capture people's attention and raise their interest, but you won't get them to sign a contract unless you have a conversation. So I think that's the beauty of business. It's all about relationship and conversations at the end of the day. So,
Mm.
so
Do you feel that there is a major difference between these two elements, complexity and uncertainty, if you compare two countries that are one beside of the other, France, that you know well, and your Switzerland? Is there any differentiation in terms of the differentiation for entrepreneurs? Do they have to deal with more of one or the other?
no, but I believe there's a difference with when you look at our clients. I mean, I work with executives in France and executives in Switzerland. Well, I have to go into generalities, right? And I don't really like that. But and I love France. I mean, people need to know that I really love France.
You are the only Vaudois who does.
No, many of us do. I mean, we have a love-hate relationship with France, but
Exactly.
it's like the big brother, and we admire them, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
so the need for control is, generally speaking, higher in France than in Switzerland. And this is I've come to believe it's like a cultural thing, because I mean, there's I can give you references then, but you have like a stat. There's an interesting stat that you can find on the internet called the tolerance for uncertainty, and you can compare Switzerland and France. And in France, the tolerance for uncertainty is, I think, at a 7 or a 10 on a scale of 1 to 100. So it's very low tolerance for uncertainty. Whereas in Switzerland, it's probably at about a 50 on a scale of 1 to 10. So it says that, generally speaking, in France, people are much less tolerant for uncertainty than in Switzerland, which says they have higher expectations towards their boss or leader. A leader in France is supposed to protect everybody against uncertainty. In Switzerland, it's a bit different. A leader is more like a peer, and he's there to promote initiatives or to facilitate or enable initiatives. So there's I mean, if we're talking about executives, a lesser need for control in Switzerland than in France. It makes sense?
It makes sense now that you say it, but by the way, it is the first time that I hear these numbers. So basically what you're saying is that in Switzerland, we are more tolerant towards uncertainty versus France. French are a little bit have higher expectations about leadership, the workplace, and it might be that the organizational setup is built, or the culture is built across hierarchy. And as you mentioned, then
hierarchy and risk, reducing risk. It's the big thing. It's not as strong in Switzerland. People can live with risk.
And that is crazy, because that leads to my next question. So we should expect that in Switzerland, there is a higher opportunity for launching business, tech startups, the whole thing that about this new era of entrepreneurship that we are finding. So we should expect that in one generation, more than 50% of the of people working are going to be working for themselves. Is that a good assumption?
Well, let me answer the second part first, because I just saw a figure the other day which was saying that approximately 15% of the active population in Switzerland works as a freelance. Is independent. We call them independent. 15%. not a very big number. Yeah, one person out of 7, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised. I was in a way hoping or expecting to find a higher figure, but well, then one question would be, why are people reluctant or to leave a very well-paid job and become an entrepreneur? So that's probably the first difficulty, right? To become an entrepreneur when you have been working in Switzerland, because you've had a good life with probably a good boss, more or less, good colleagues, good salary. You can go on holiday and vacation. And why I would go into the trouble of starting my own business? So that's a psychological barrier, I guess. Then, if you and I can primarily talk about starting a consulting business or a freelance business, right? I don't know about other kind of startups and technology startups and so on, but then one challenge when you are looking for clients is that people are very practical. I mean, I used to sell in France risk management, and it has an appeal to French executives for the reason I just mentioned, but you don't sell risk management to a Swiss executive. He doesn't care. It's like, why would I add red tape to my company? So, I mean, there's a way to do business because people are interested in practical solutions, and they are willing to give you a try, right? I've seen that, and I have clients. I gain clients that way, but you have to be practical. No bullshit.
He,
I Yeah.
yes, go ahead.
I'm tempted to say that Swiss executives, Swiss leaders have a bullshit detector that's perhaps higher in our country than in other countries. I
Uh,
might be incorrect, and I'm open to challenge.
Alec, I'm with you on that. I can feel it. So I cannot, or I think that m many people who comes to do business in Switzerland, they believe that having a Polish language, a beautiful McKinsey Bain style presentation, they can pull it out with Swiss people, even with big retailers like Migros, Coop, or whatsoever. They don't like it. They like simplicity. Don't come with your presentation, get to know them. And that's something that I have learned the hard way in Switzerland, by the way, that I cannot come with my intellectual hat has to remain on the back. I need to be human first.
Ivan, both of us, right? I mean, I'm saying this because I've been through many hard years trying to, present myself as the smart guy. People don't care for smart; they care for simple.
That is true. Now, tell me, this methodology that you are applying for businesses to help them, I have heard about the co-pilot method. So, one, what is it and how it can help people? And what type of people we are talking about? Is it small company, medium enterprise, big companies? Tell me more, Alec.
All right. Yeah. Well, at this point, I primarily work with say executives or business leaders in growing companies. Say the target is say they probably have between 20 and 100 employees. They make 5 to 20 million in turnover, and the company has been there for probably a decade, 20 years. I mean, it's not a fast-paced technological startup, but it's a growing company. And the thing is, as the company grows, I mean, you reach a point where new questions come up, like how do I maintain control of the company? And so what I'm talking about benefits here, and then I will talk about my method. But uh, one benefit that I bring to my client, the executive, is like less anxiety. because we gain more control of what's happening in the company. I'm not saying control over people, right? I'm saying control with people. It's a different thing. So less anxiety, more control, more time, because typically their to-do list keeps, things keep piling up in their to-do list because they are the go-to man for every question. I bring them like a way to reduce the to-do list and yeah, and so on, and with different benefits for the business as a whole, which at the end of the day all impact the bottom line. So that's in terms of benefits, but the you want to know about the method, right? The way we work together.
Exactly.
I use, the reason I'm using the picture of a co-pilot is because to me, leading a business is like being in a kind of safari or being in the jungle, and perhaps you're driving a car, but it's complicated. You don't see what's ahead, and you have many unknowns. So you are the pilot. You need a co-pilot, somebody that can, for example, help you discover great questions that are yet to be asked. And I'm the guy who discovers not, flaws or problems. Many consultants do that. I'm the guy who helps you discover those big, important questions that are yet to be asked. That's a very distinctive feature. And the moment you start identifying good questions, you can draw people to these good questions, because good questions trigger imagination, creativity, and people want to be creative. So, and that's pretty much what I do in the first phase of my method, which I call the first phase is to recon. The second phase is to explore. The third phase is to design. So I recon good questions. That's phase one. Then I explore options, opportunities that are worth pursuing, opportunities that will impact the business model and hence the bottom line. So we do that in phase two. And in phase three, we use principles of design thinking to design a prototype, test, design opportunities for impact. And what I do throughout the process, and as a true co-pilot, I help the executive package ideas, because every good idea needs a package, and then we fast forward ideas to deliver impact where it matters most. So in a nutshell, that's what we do as pilots and co-pilots.
It is good that you have given me this explanation, because when you use the word control, it can be super misunderstood. So by control, what I understood is that you provide the insights, the blind sides that we don't see, because when we ask ourselves a question about our business, we just use the information available that is in front of our face, and we don't see in the sides. One, you provide insight. Two, you provide a methodology to empower them to be a little bit more off. In fact, even though you use the word control, you are empowering other people. So the big boss can detect that this is my guy for the numbers. This is my guy for the management of resources in my company. So you are kind of reducing, you are creating the expectations for the company owner of reducing their workload, improving their well-being, while making either the same amount of money or even more than before. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm not saying, and that's important. Money is never a goal. That's my philosophy. But you can have. So that's it's not the good metric. It's a metric, but it's not the ultimate metric. You can have a real success if you, for example, if you manage to make the same amount of money, but you simplify your life and you get more free time, and same for your employees. I believe we're in a time where people want want free time. That's what is more precious than time.
Mm. So
I mean,
another way of looking at your business is that you take the McKinsey mind, you remove the bullshit, you make it simple, and that's you.
well, that's a nice comparison because McKinsey is, considered, the top and the reference point. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, it has got a good consideration, but you have probably followed the news that, I mean, it's not doing great. It's not doing great because many customers get disappointed about the fluff, the bad recommendations, the fact that they don't have skin in the game to when they provide you a solution or an idea, they don't have anything to lose. There has been a lot of critics from the Middle East in Saudi Arabia, where Saudi Arabia has invested billions of dollars in management consultancy, and they don't have shit, in fact, back. There has been many managing partners of McKinsey who have been involved on recommending stuff that is shady. Because again, they don't have a skin in the game. They leave it to the owner to take the call. The risk goes to the company. So I think that
yeah,
is gone the days of the beauty of McKinsey.
which is okay, and perhaps, and there's one thing that I discovered. You, I make a distinction between being an expert or being what I call a co-pilot. If you are the expert, you're supposed to be the all-knowing guy, and you have the data and the best practices. And it's like you are the first class citizen, and then you have like everybody else is a second class citizen, a non-expert. What I've tried to do as a co-pilot is to be the guy among them, or to be in the middle of it, you know,
Yeah. Hmm.
with the feet in the mud. And yeah, I like your picture of saying having skin in the game, and perhaps that's also I'm willing to reduce what I make in the beginning because I haven't make my proof.
Hmm.
Just I need to make a decent living. But then, if we create results together, then perhaps there's a way to share the value add.
Hmm. I want to get back to you as an individual. You, the person who has created a successful business in Switzerland, and yeah, not bad for France also. Bravo. If you had to go back in time, is there any major assumption that you had before going entrepreneur and you wish you knew before?
Any assumption that anything that I wished I knew before?
Exactly, before being an entrepreneur, anything that
Oh, yeah,
is,
yeah. Well,
what the hell, I wish I knew this stuff.
no, 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 sure. I thought when I was like 25, 30, after leaving like just a big consulting firm, EY, I thought, I was exposed to clients, but just as an expert, not really as a sales guy. And I thought, well, uh, the only thing I need to do to be successful is to have a great method and great communication skill. I will persuade people with my method. They'll be interested in my method. But I learned the hard way that people don't care about your method. They only care if you care about them. So it took me like 20 years to find a way just to capture people interest, and then start a conversation. I wish I had known that before, but I don't think I had any examples around me of like people doing that.
Mm. As an entrepreneur, this balance between personal and professional life is, for most of us, is like a pain in the ass because we have challenges to get that balance. How do you manage this balance? And what advice would you have for other entrepreneurs to manage this balance between personal and professional life?
Hmm. Well, that's a complex question. Thank you, Ivan.
Complexity is your thing,
Yeah,
Alec.
yeah. It's like one thing that as part of my ethics, I decided that I would not give tools or frameworks to clients unless I had first tested it with my family.
Interesting.
I cannot give advice to somebody unless I have tested my advice and my tools with the people I love most. And which and so I've used a lot of stuff with my wife, who's a great supporter, and sometimes, yeah, she says, you're being the teacher, the professor, or whatever. Stop with me, stop with that. But you know and with that, it's given me a way to just keep what works, in the chaos of real life as a dad, as a husband, and so on. So it's like my lab, if you want. My testing ground is my family and those people I love. And so, then I can transpose and provide to clients stuff that I know works and won't do any harm.
Hmm. And that's an important point for entrepreneurs is that I think counting on someone who understands our lifestyle, because being an entrepreneur is a bloody lifestyle, somebody that we can count on bouncing ideas to discuss, in fact, the challenges that we have, because every day is a struggle sometimes. It is super more important that we can acknowledge, or in fact, it's part of my I wish I knew it before. To count on someone like our spouses to balance ideas, to bounce ideas, sorry. It is super important to have somebody who is going to be maybe our number one fan and our number one critic. It is super important.
It is. Yeah. And the way I would put it now is like, as an entrepreneur, we basically, part of our job is to prototype ideas
Mm.
or solutions, if you want. Prototype. But the basic tool to prototype is language.
Mm.
And language, communication, So, I mean, the moment I speak to my wife, I not only prototype an idea, but also prototype my own language to make sure I have the right words. And so, I mean, I can do that with my wife, but also with a few friends like you, Ivan, and so on. And so I'm looking for every opportunity to prototype ideas and discover, the best words to communicate ideas in a simple manner.
Mm.
I think, yeah.
I lately in this area of bouncing ideas, understanding even in because we are creating solutions on the go. There is no solution that can be easily adapted to multiple customers if you really want to help them, unless you are called McKinsey. Sorry for being so critical about McKinsey. But what's your take about the use of AI to bounce ideas? I mean, to have this
Uh,
discussion and to ask
it's a
them
good question. I mean, like many people, I'm curious. It's a new technology. It's like it's going to be there for some time. It's probably game changing. So, sometimes I mean, I try to be close to my convictions, to my intentions. There's no one more faithful to me than my own heart, my own discernment. So I try to imagine what I want with a client or with a proposition that I'll make, and then perhaps I'll just go on ChatGPT or Perplexity or any or Claude, any tool you want to use, and just to compare.
Mm.
Uh, Sometimes it's useful. Sometimes I think it is less useful. But one thing that I like with AI, it generally gives me the kind of discourse that I don't want to use. It
Mm.
tells me what's already been said because AI uses data.
Mm.
Data is like knowledge that has been codified and used by other people. So I'm not that much interested in data because data reflects the past. I'm interested in imagination because
Mm.
that's where the future lies.
Mm.
So it's like an interesting comparison point, but it's not what will help me address my specific unknowns right now because these are too situational.
Mm. Indeed, it looks to me also that you cannot go without AI. You need to continue practicing because it becomes better. I still remember the first time that I used it compared to today. Okay, two things have improved, the AI itself and my way of asking the questions. So if you ask sometimes you have the right prompts, it can have a little bit of more insights. Uh,
Yeah.
so you cannot leave it aside, but it is um, something additional that can help you beyond your own creativity, your own discussions with real humans.
And I mean, and of course it can help you for certain tasks. It help, you can gain time, of course.
Mm.
It can help speed up. Like I use it for them when I have to make new offers on rather standard needs.
Mm.
Sometimes I use AI just to have a first draft, right? And I gain speed, and sometimes I use complex words. AI, Chat GPT helped me find like simpler words. That's good.
Mm. Alec, I have spent a beautiful time. You have l- taught me a couple of things that I didn't know, which is I love that because I have learned again a lot. You are my go-to person for complexity. I think that
Thank you.
many people would benefit to understand more about the Copilot method. So I would recommend definitely to reach you out. I'm going to put below
All right,
this
good.
episode your LinkedIn profile. Anything else that you want me to put below this episode?
No, we're good.
We are good.
Uh,
So LinkedIn profile is the best way to reach you out to ask any questions about this story about
yeah,
helping
I,
organizations move from traditional, fully controlled by one person uh, company organization towards more empowered, more benefits, and a better life balance when you are an owner. I think many people in the industry will benefit. Alec,
yeah.
any last words?
It's a never-ending quest. Complexity is going to be there for a long time, but yeah, if we find ways to be more simple, that can certainly benefit us all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Alec, for spending time with us. It was really wonderful again and
My
insightful.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Pleasure,
Have a
my
great
friend.
day.
Anytime.